Well, good afternoon, everyone, or good evening, depending on how you look at the 5 o'clock hour. Um, as I announced on Twitter yesterday, I have a big announcement to make. Some of you may have already seen some of the changes to my Facebook page and to the Whitfield Analysis Facebook page as well. Yes, the rumors are true. The Whitfield Analysis is coming back this week. I'm relaunching the podcast, and I'm really excited about this. To be quite honest, um, as most of you know, I had to put the podcast on hiatus, and back in May/June. Um, just because with school and everything else, doing the podcast week to week on Sunday got to be a little too much for me to do 2 hours at one time. But I'm relaunching the podcast, and I'm going to be doing it a little bit differently this time. Um, Depending on how you look at this, this may be some bad news for some of you. Um, Unfortunately, folks, I will not be doing the podcast live anymore on Spreaker or on Mixer or on Blog Talk Radio. There are a couple reasons why this is. Primarily, it's because I won't have a producer um, for most of them. Jeff Hamill was the producer for the live show, but he and I had been talking, and he, even before we quit the show, and he told me even back then that 2 hours was getting a little bit too much for him to produce, which I understood. But without a producer and someone to, handle all the audio uh, broadcast, stuff and to integrate Skype and all of that, um, that's stuff that I really can't do on my own. And when you're doing a live podcast, it's really best if you have a producer. I'm the talent, so to speak. So I need to focus on doing a show, and by having to worry about the audio quality and whatnot, it's just hard for me. So that's primarily the reason why. The other reason why is, unfortunately, my schedule for recording shows isn't going to be all that consistent. However, I'm hoping to be able to post, and this is the important thing, I'm hoping to be able to post episodes every Sunday night, like probably around 8 p.m. Um, so that's the important thing. Um, and then plus Spreaker and all those other live services, whenever they first launch, they seem to be really good, but as they mature, you start having to pay for more and more of the features, and well, it's not exactly cheap either. Let's just put it that way. So, by pre-recording the shows, it gives me a lot more control over editing and post-production. I'm using an app on my iPad, which kind of does all the editing as I'm recording, if that makes sense. And by doing it on my iPad too, I also don't have to worry about whether or not the audio sounds good. I've actually recorded a couple episodes uh, in the last month of the podcast, actually, um, using the iPad, and I think they turned out pretty well. You can go to the podcast feed and look for yourself, but I like them. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much the announcement. the show is only going to be 45 minutes to an hour long. I don't really need the 2 hours anymore. And the other thing is, the podcast is going to link more to my blog, too. So any articles that I don't cover, any topics I don't cover on the show, I'll blog about on my website, and vice versa. Any things that I don't cover on my blog will most likely be covered on my website. And again, you can go to thesamwhitfield.com for that information. I'm going to try and wrap this up pretty quickly here, but I do want to thank Jeff Hamill. He and I were talking last night, and he made some brand new graphics for me, which are on the Facebook page and on the on my Twitter account. One more important thing to mention. So we won't be doing live episodes per se, but we will be having live events, so to speak. As many of you know, YouTube has a feature now where you can record live events, and I've used that feature to interview guests before. I had Alex Foley on. I had Alex Broshewitz on back in the beginning of December. I had Kyle Foley on right before Christmas break, and I had my good friend Luke Nicholas on January 1st, actually. And I haven't updated the website with those links yet, but I will here soon. Or you can just go directly to my YouTube channel for the Whitfield analysis. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, and that way we'll do the that way you'll know when we have live guests and live events. And yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I'll have more information on my website about exactly how this is going to work. But long story short, the Whitfield analysis is back, ladies and gentlemen, and I am so happy for you all to see what we have in store. 2016 is going to be a great year, so I want to thank you so much for tuning into this announcement, and I'll see you later.